All right, well, hello again. It's Nancy from Iconapprentice, and we're going to be continuing with our St. Mary Magdalene icon. The first thing I want to do, just in the description box, you'll see the colors, the paints that we're going to need for this session, but I'll go over them again. We're going to need Vermillion, we're going to need Cad Scarlet, Antique Green, and Olive Green, Brown Madder, Burnt Sienna, Naples Yellow Hue, and Napthol Red Light. So those are the paints that we'll be using for this portion of the painting as we write our icon. And of course, we've already said our prayers, thanking God for everything He's done for us, and petitioning Him for whatever needs and prayers that we deem fit. I'm using the Vermillion this time. What we're doing is we're going to take our Vermillion. We're just going to do a light wash over her garment, excluding her flesh, okay, so no flesh, and her veil. So this part here and this part will not be washed with the Vermillion. We're only using it on the rest of the robe and exclude the skin. Now my paintbrush is a little damp, and then I'm going to be putting down some Flow Medium, and I do use Josania's Flow Medium. So, and again, we're getting that creamy consistency. A little bit thinner this time, just because we want to wash. And when we talk about washes, we're not blocking in color so that it's absolutely opaque. In other words, you can't see through it. But what we're looking for is a nice transparent wash that's going to give some depth to what we're doing to our painting. So I'll just start. We'll come right up here. We're going to do, remember, the entire garment, excluding her veil and her flash. And you can see I'm putting this on pretty quickly. Just working back and forth. Work in a back and forth motion. It tends to spread the paint a little bit better than just an up and down movement or side to side. When you start up and down or side to side, then you're going to start laying in some lines on the painting that you don't want. So a little bit of side to side here. So while our Vermillion is drying, I'm going to start laying in some color on the veil. And I want you to see, I did switch out and get some clean water. If I had started with the Naples Yellow Hue, which is what we're going to be painting on the veil, and you can see that this is a very pale yellow, and I'm going to be thinning that out a little bit. But if we had worked with the yellow first, I would have still been okay with less water, even if it was a little yellow tinted, to lay the Vermillion down. But because the Vermillion is such an orangey color, I got fresh water because I don't want to tint her veil with any of the orange. I'd like it to remain pretty much the color we're looking for, which is the Naples yellow hue. This is not going to be quite as thin as the Vermillion because we are looking for a little bit more coverage from the yellow. So I'm just going to turn the icon around, and then I'm going to lay in some of these colors here. Remember, this is her flesh, so this part right in here, okay, this part is flesh, pardon me. So all of this in between her hair, this is all going to be the Naples yellow hue. This part is her hair as well, so nothing in there. It's just this outer edge. You can see we still see the lines underneath the paint. That's why I said make sure they're fairly dark. You want to make sure that you can see those lines because those are going to guide us whenever we look at our color copy. You can see these lines. Hopefully you can see that. They represent the folds of the fabric, and then of course these are going to be her red trim. So that's why we're not being too careful. We're going over them, but we still wanted to see them through from the bottom of the painting. I think we'll let this dry and move on to her robe. And when you take these paints out, when we move to a new color, you don't need a huge amount. You can see I started out with just not even a dime-sized portion of the Naples yellow hue, and I have plenty left over. So don't be too generous pulling your paints out of your tubes. I mean, you know, we're only paying, I know it's only less than $3 a tube, but you can make these last forever. And these Josanya paints, they really do last. I think some of these I've had for at least 3 or 4 years, and part of them may be gone. I may be getting down toward the end of the tube, but the paints are still great, so don't worry about that. So while our veil is drying, we're going to be going into some olive green for her inner robe. And I'll just show you, we're looking at the sleeve area here, this inner robe portion. So those are the places where we're going to be transferring the painting. And you can see, look what I did here. I missed a little line right there. So I'm just going to pretend like I see it. And it's just going to come straight down like this. Lay this olive green down. And I'll put that line back in. If this looks a little streaky, don't worry about it. The streakiness is going to be covered up because we're going to have several layers. So avoid the desire or the urging to go back and fix anything. especially because as our paint starts drying, once we get this laid down, it's going to start drying fairly quickly. And the problem is that as it dries and gets tacky, if you go back in and start messing with it, it's going to lift on you. So resist the urge to do that. All right, we'll let that dry. We'll move to her robe. All right, so I'm going to point something out to you. I'm actually working on two of these. One is on the board. You can see this is my board. And the other one that I'm working on is a stretched canvas. And what I did was to give some support to the back while I'm painting it, because it's, you know, you move that, that's a stretched canvas. I have a book that I just put in the hollow, fits perfectly. Oh, and I do recommend this book. This is great. Tells you how to mix recipes so you don't have to buy so many paints. But just to give it some support, put it in there. So if you see two paintings laying here looking exactly the same or fairly close, that's why. All right, so let's move to the brown matter portion of her robe, which is the main outer robe. And I've mixed up some brown matter, and you can see it's not brown at all. Crazy. So we'll start laying that in on the outer robe. And you can see this is a large area, so I'm going to try to work quickly as I lay the paint down. And again, come back to that crisscross and do sections. You can see I didn't go all the way across. I'm just kind of doing a section at a time. Again, a few streaks is not going to be a problem because we're going to do multi-layers. So we want to put just a little bit more olive green in here. And if you start getting kind of streaky, mine's gotten a little bit streaky, turn the board sideways and make sure that this next coat that you apply going the opposite direction. Sometimes these little triangle squares like this can get very streaky if we're not careful. And it happens. All right. And that's probably going to be pretty good for the green underrobe. It doesn't have to be too dark. Might put one extra. What you're seeing on your color copy, hopefully when you printed it out, is you can really still see through. You can see these lines on top. These are highlight lines, but if you can look underneath, you can still see this this vermilion that we put underneath. The green is laying on top of that, so we really don't want to try to lose all of that. So don't be worried if you can kind of see through it. It's all going to be okay. Let's go ahead and we'll get a little bit of our Napthol red light, and we want to paint the egg. And boy, you just need a dot of that. Oh, that was too much even. So I did put another coat on the robe, and you can do that yourself. Just keep working. Remember that side-to-side motion that will spread your paint very nicely. And you can see, we can still see all of our lines through this. We're putting a coat of Napthol red light on the egg. You can go back in once it's dry. You can put a second coat on it. If you, like I did, if you drew your line through your egg for the halo, please erase it. This one I didn't, and I'm not sure that's going to be covered up, so I may have to do something creative. But anyway, nothing can't be fixed. So I think we are probably ready to go into the hair and the flesh. Now, all the flesh is going to be coated with a mixture of olive green and gold oxide, and it's called Sankir, S-A-N-K-I-R, and I'll show you what that looks like. Sankir, I mix it up ahead of time. It's gold oxide, olive green, a little bit on the plate there, and hopefully you can see the color. I just use a little Rubbermaid, Tupperware, whatever. All right, get a little bit of water. And we, to the gold oxide and the olive green, you do add flow medium. And start on the hand. And again, we're going to be doing that back and forth motion to get this on. And it's going to be applied thin, not real thick. Nice thin coat. Sorry, I kind of got off camera here. sometimes you get in a tough spot. The hair, we're gonna put another color on, so you don't have to worry too much about that. You get a little bit of the sun here out into her veil. Just wet your brush, go in, take it off. Okay. So we may actually need to do maybe 6 coats of this flesh for us to achieve the darkness that we need to start with. So here we are on our board. We've got 4 coats. Tip that up just a tiny bit so you can still see. I think we're going to go maybe 1 more coat, and then I think we're done with the face.